Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to solve what is honestly an incredible mystery. Have you ever wondered how a tiny maize seed planted in the dirt manages to grow into a massive, heavy-cobbed plant without ever actually eating a single plate of food? It's a biological marvel, and it's happening all around us, literally every single day. By the end of our time together, you're going to understand exactly how this invisible green factory actually operates.
Think about it for a second. Picture a giant, beautiful mango tree, or maybe the thick, lush forest of Mabira. Now ask yourself a seemingly simple question. How do they manage to survive and grow so incredibly large without any visible food source? I mean, you and I, we eat pasho, beans, or matoke when we're hungry, right? But a plant? It just sits there in the sun. Well, as you'll see, plants possess a literal superpower, and it forms the entire foundation of all life on Earth.
So, here is our roadmap for today. We'll be looking at autotrophs versus heterotrophs, nature's ultimate food factory, what exactly goes on inside a leaf structure, how we test for starch, clearing up some common misconceptions, and finally, why plants matter most.
All right, starting with Section 1, autotrophs versus heterotrophs. Before we tour this plant factory, we kind of need to divide the living world into two distinct camps based on how they get their meals.
Notice the really stark contrast between these two groups. On the left, we've got autotrophs. Think of the vast, super productive green tea estates in Fort Portal. The word auto literally means self, meaning these organisms manufacture their own complex meals using non-living, simple substances from their environment. They are the producers. Now, on the right, we have heterotrophs. Hetero means other. Humans, cows, lions, insects, we all fall into this camp because we absolutely must consume other organisms to survive. We're the consumers. And because autotrophs make the food first, they really are the ultimate providers of the whole ecosystem.
Moving right along to Section 2, nature's ultimate food factory. Let's see how this builds into that magical superpower we were talking about.
So this superpower has a name, and it's photosynthesis. If we break the word down, photo means light, and synthesis means making. The crucial takeaway here is that plants literally pull their food out of thin air, water, and sunlight. They act as nature's ultimate kitchens. The kitchen itself is the leaf, and the core machinery inside that kitchen is a special green pigment called chlorophyll. And here is the exact recipe for this factory. To cook any meal, you need ingredients, and you need heat, right? Well, for a plant, the raw materials are carbon dioxide, which is a gas taken right out of the air, and water absorbed from the soil. When light energy from the sun is trapped by that green chlorophyll, it literally forces these two ingredients to combine. The result? Glucose. That's the simple sugar food the plant uses for energy or stores as starch. Oh, and it also produces a waste product, oxygen. This is incredibly lucky for us because the plant releases that oxygen right back into the air for us to breathe.
Memorizing this specific biological recipe is absolutely crucial. To help you lock in this word equation, especially if you're prepping for your Senior 1 exams, just remember this fun little trick. Cows with light can go out. C for carbon dioxide, W for water, light is the energy, C for chlorophyll, G for glucose, and O for oxygen. It's a fantastic mental shortcut, for sure.
Okay, Section 3, inside the leaf structure. Now it's time to open up the factory doors and look at the highly specialized machinery packed inside. You see, a leaf isn't just some flat piece of green material hanging on a branch. It is a perfectly designed solar panel. Every physical feature is uniquely adapted to maximize food production. Its broad and flat lamina provides a massive surface area to catch sunlight. Its thinness ensures that gases and sunlight can quickly reach all the internal cells. It's got a network of veins acting like tiny pipes. The xylem brings water up from the roots, and the phloem carries the freshly made food away. Down at the bottom, there are tiny doorways called stomata that open to let carbon dioxide in and oxygen out. And finally, the chloroplasts are the actual tiny structures containing the chlorophyll to trap that essential sunlight. If we visualize a really detailed 3D textbook cutout of the leaf's internal structure, what we call a transverse section, you'll immediately see why the top of a leaf is usually a much darker green than the bottom. Look at the palisade mesophyll layer just under that shiny, waxy cuticle on top. It is absolutely packed with tall cells full of green chloroplasts, perfectly positioned to catch the direct sun. Below that, the spongy mesophyll has round cells with air spaces to let gases move easily, leading right down to those stomata breathing doors at the bottom. It is a brilliantly organized system.
Which brings us to Section 4, testing for starch. We know the factory exists, but in science, we need actual proof, right? How do we prove it's producing food? Well, let's dive into this classic lab experiment. First, you boil a healthy green leaf, say a bean leaf that's been out in the sun for about 2 minutes to kill the cells and soften it up. Now, I want to firmly emphasize safety on this next step. Ethanol is highly flammable. You must always turn off your open flame or put out your cigarette completely before extracting the chlorophyll in a hot water bath. Once the ethanol removes the green color and leaves the leaf pale, you just rinse it in warm water, place it on a white tile, and add a few drops of iodine solution.
The results of this test provide totally clear proof of our factory's output. If you compare a leaf that was out in the full sun with one that was covered by black paper for a few days, the results are night and day. The uncovered leaf turns a rich, dark blue-black when the iodine hits it. Biologically, that confirms the presence of starch, meaning photosynthesis successfully occurred. The covered leaf, however, just remains pale or brown. Because the sunlight was blocked, no photosynthesis could happen and the leaf effectively starved.
All right. Section 5. Addressing misconceptions. Before we wrap up our factory tour, we really need to correct a few common misunderstandings.
This first one is huge. A lot of people think plants get their main source of food directly from the soil. Actually, scratch that. It's more like they just pull water and essential minerals from the soil. Think of fertilizer as just a vitamin for the plant. It's not the main course. The real meal is the glucose manufactured high up in the leaves using air and sunlight. Here's another trap. Never confuse photosynthesis with respiration. It's so common to think plants only produce oxygen and animals only produce carbon dioxide. In reality, plants actually breathe and use oxygen day and night through respiration, just like we do, to break down their food for energy. They just happen to produce way more oxygen during the daytime through photosynthesis than they use up.
Finally, Section 6, Why Plants Matter Most. Let's see how all of this builds into a global reality that affects every single one of us.
As we've seen, autotrophs truly are the ultimate providers. Every single time you eat a delicious piece of fruit, enjoy a heavy meal of pasho and beans, or honestly, even just take a deep breath of fresh air, you are directly surviving because of this microscopic green factory. Heterotrophs, that's us, simply cannot exist without autotrophs capturing that sunlight and turning it into chemical energy and breathable air.
I'm going to leave you with this higher order thought to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. Imagine if a chemical were accidentally released into the atmosphere that permanently locked shut all those tiny stomata doors on every single plant in Uganda. Carbon dioxide couldn't get in, oxygen couldn't get out. What kind of terrifying chain reaction would happen to our environment, our animals, and ourselves? It really puts into perspective just how absolutely vital these silent green factories are to our very existence.